Hey guys, how you doing? Luna here with a new video. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm really excited because we're going to be ranking every single song on the Let It Be album by the Beatles, released in 1970, from worst to best. We've done this with Sgt. Pepper's and Revolver already, and I'm going to link those videos in the description, but I'm even more excited for this one, even though I like those albums a little bit more, mainly because my connection with this album is very meaningful to me. It was the album that proved to me how much I loved the Beatles, because after I heard the White Album for the first time, I went on Google and I started to do some research on the band, and I saw that Sgt. Pepper's, Revolver, Rubber Soul were seen as the best pieces of work by the band, and I heard those records for the first time, and honestly, even though I liked them, it wasn't as potent as it was with the White Album. It was after I heard Let It Be that I felt like a comfort zone, a safe space for me to enjoy the music of the Beatles without all the complexity and all the experimentation that was going on in the mid-60s, and that's the reason why this album is so important for me. So I'm really excited for this video. I'm not going to be counting Dig It or Maggie May here because they're not fully fledged songs, so I think it would be kind of pointless to include them in the video. And also, I will be including Don't Let Me Down here. I know it was a single, I know it wasn't included on the album, but McCartney included the song in Let It Be Naked, and I personally feel like the song belongs to the canon of the Let It Be album, so that is the reason why I'm going to be including it here. This is only going to be my personal opinion. That is the only metric that is going to be used for the ranking of this song, so if you have your personal opinion and it's different from mine, and I'm pretty sure it is, go ahead and leave it down below in the comments, and I'll make sure to read it and give you my opinion on your list. With that being said, we have 11 songs to go through, quite a lot, so let's go on with number 11. At number 11, we have For Your Blue by George Harrison, and I have to say straight from the get-go that I don't really think that Let It Be has a single song that it's bad in it, so even if For Your Blue is at number 11, I still think this is a really enjoyable song, but it's definitely the most underwhelming track from the album, and considering that there's not a lot of experimentation or complexity happening in this album, for me to say that it's the most underwhelming one, it's more than enough for me to put it at number 11. It's clear that George Harrison was very excited to jump into his solo stuff. It's clear that he was saving all of his best tracks for the solo material, and the problems that he was having with McCartney and Lennon at the time clearly influenced the quality of the songs that he provided for this album. I'm not saying they're bad, but if you compare this to If Not For You, Behind That Locked Door, and a lot of the other songs that are in All Things Must Pass, it's clear that this is not at the same level of quality. I like the guitar playing, the sliding guitar thing. I like George Harrison's falsetto. I like the dynamics of the vocals, but apart from that, I think this song is not really at the same level as the rest of the songs in this album. This song is kind of puzzling, because if you watch the Get Back documentary, you know that George actually proposed more than a few songs that were in All Things Must Pass for the recording of this album, and they got rejected, and yet this song was approved. I don't really understand why that happened, but anyway, number 11. At number 10, we have One After 909, and honestly, it hurts to put this song so low because I play it quite often. I love the fast-paced nature of the track. I love the dynamics of the vocals. The vocal harmonies between Lennon and McCartney sound really good. It's a really good rocker, but compared to the rest of the songs in this album, it's not really that interesting. It almost doesn't feel like a Beatles song. It feels like a cover. There's not a lot to say about this track too. It's just a really old-fashioned style of rock and roll song. The rest of the songs in this album just have a lot more character, and you can tell that it's a Lennon, McCartney, or Harrison composition. So I think that for that reason, it's why I put it so low. At number 9, we have Diap Pony, and I absolutely love this song. I love this performance by John Lennon, one of my favorites from the album. I love the dynamics of the guitar playing, how sometimes it's smooth and sometimes it's very aggressive and sharp. I think the bass line is also incredible. It's a little too aggressive in the original mixing of the album, but in future remasters they fixed it, so it's way better, especially in the Let It Be Naked version, and I'm going to be quoting that album a lot because it's very different from the original mixing of the album, and I think that sometimes it plays in the album's favor and sometimes it doesn't. I like the Let It Be Naked version of the song a little more because it's way cleaner and you can explore all the different elements that build the track a little better, but apart from that, both versions are still really good. The main thing that makes Let It Be such a great album is the level of quality and how balanced it is throughout the whole listen. I mean, a song like Diap Pony, in terms of enjoyability and overall quality, is as good as number 5 and number 4. That's what makes this album a great listen. The fact that you feel like you're listening to one great song after the other. So even if it's at number 9, I feel like the compositions that are above it are way more meaningful for the artists and their songwriting style, and represent their style of music a little bit more. That's the only reason why. But Diap Pony is an an amazing song and one of my favorite moments from the album. At number 8, we have I Me Mine by George Harrison, and once again, I absolutely adore this track. I love how the organ makes everything sound so fancy and sophisticated on the verse, and then once you go into the chorus, it's aggressive, it's menacing. I love Paul McCartney's backing vocals, I like the guitar playing, everything here is on point. The fact that John Lennon didn't play or didn't help in the recording of the song at all makes it hard to believe that this is a Beatles song. This sounds like a George Harrison solo composition, especially because it uses a similar type of production that a lot of the Things and All Things Must Pass used. But overall, I think that it matches the energy of the album very well, especially since, you consider this is the last Beatles album, and this is a song that basically complains about the egos and, the nature of the recording sessions of the band at the time. When you listen to the lyrics and you research the story of the song, everything makes sense on why the song is as menacing and as aggressive, as passive-aggressive as it is, so that's the reason why I bring it all the way up to number 8. Again, I still don't think that this song is at the same level of quality as a lot of the things that George Harrison was doing in All Things Must Pass, which for me proves that he wasn't all that involved in the record, but it's still a great song, and that is the reason why I put it at number 8. At number 7, we have The Long and Winding Road. If I'm not mistaken, this was the last single issued by the band, and Paul McCartney was pretty upset about how this song turned out because he didn't like the string arrangements, he didn't like the orchestral parts of the song, and I can understand why. If you listen to Paul McCartney's solo career and actually his previous work with the Beatles, he doesn't really like to fill the track too much. He always likes to keep it a little bit more simple, so the thing that shines the most is the songwriting, is his performance, and his voice. There are some exceptions like track Eleanor Rigby in albums like Revolver, but for the most part, if you research his music, you'll notice that he doesn't really like when the instrumental is so thick, and that is exactly the problem this song has. I don't really like the version from the Let It Be Naked album either all that much because I think it's too simple. It doesn't really match the energy of the song and how epic it is, but Phil Spector definitely overdid it with this song. Sometimes his type of production works really well. Phil Spector, in my opinion, is one of the most legendary producers in the history of music, but overproducing is definitely an issue he dealt with, especially when working with the Beatles, and this track is the perfect example. I think the vocals are not exactly the greatest thing ever either. It doesn't really match the elegance and the sophistication of the instrumentation, and that is the reason why it lands so low. It's a beautiful song, and personally for me, the Let It Be Naked version is the better one, but it's still not, the track at its maximum potential. In my opinion, if you take a few of the layers out from the original version and you put the vocal track from Let It Be Naked in Phil Spector's instrumentation, I think it sounds way better, but sadly we don't really have that with us. So yeah, it lands in number 7. It's a great track. It's a beautiful song. The lyrics are amazing, representing how the band was kind of like nearing its end. It's a very sad song when you think about it, but it stays in number 7 because yeah, the production doesn't really match the vocals at all. At number 6, we have Two of Us, and I know that for a lot of people this is going to be very, very higher than usual, but this song is a very special one for me. This is the last time Paul McCartney and John Lennon participated in vocal harmonies together. Back in the day, in 1963 and 1964 during the Beatlemania years, they used to do it all the time, and it was amazing. Their voices work really well together, but sadly, as the years went on, once you get to Sgt. Pepper's, Revolver, and the White Album, they stopped doing it. So going back to it and have this heartwarming song where they perform together, the lyrics are really cute. I like the melody, the simple guitar playing, the percussion, it's kind of like interesting too. There's a lot of elements I love about this track, and that is the exact same reason why I'm gonna put it at number 6. It almost got into the top 5, but honestly, at number 5 we have one of the best performances by Paul McCartney ever, so I couldn't put it any higher. But honestly, the nature of the lyrics, considering that it's the last song that Paul McCartney and John Lennon performed together, it's more than enough for me to put it at number 6. This is a wonderful song and a really good album opener, depending on the version of the album you're listening to. At number 5, we have I've Got a Feeling. I would love to put this song way higher actually. From the entire album, this is the song I've heard the most by far. This and Oh Darling are, in my opinion, the greatest vocal performances by Paul McCartney. He completely rips the microphone with his energy, his charisma, his personality, and his talent as a singer, because singing this song properly is almost impossible. I haven't found a single cover on YouTube or any live performances where people have performed this song as well as Paul McCartney has. And actually, Paul McCartney himself barely performs this song live, as at least he doesn't scream as he does in the chorus of the song, because he seems simply can't. Because again, like, this is one of his best vocal performances ever, and you know, Paul McCartney is one of the greatest singers of all time. So if I'm telling you that this is the best one, you better listen to me and go and check this song out if you haven't. I absolutely adore the track, and that is the reason why it jumps in the top 5. The only reason why I don't put it higher, because once again, this is probably my favorite song from the album, is because I feel like the tracks above it are more significant for the band, you know, and represent the meaning of the album a little better. But apart from that, this is one of the best songs from the album. At number 4, we have Across the Universe. And remember what I said about Phil Spector, how he was a bit of a problem for the band, especially for George Martin and Paul McCartney. They didn't like the overdubbing and all the orchestral things he was trying to do with the mixing of the Kedback sessions. Well, in this song, he completely saves the track and makes it something that is almost unbelievably good. I mean, we're talking about one of the most otherworldly experiences that you can have listening to a John Lennon song, because the string arrangements, the vocals, you know, the choir in the back, the way his voice is reverbed and modified for him to sound like he's singing across the universe, you know. The lyrical concept is also very philosophical and thought-provoking. One of my favorite songs by John Lennon, you know, and the fact that this song isn't higher is a testament for the quality of this album and how underrated it is, because a lot of people seem to believe that the Beatles were kind of losing it, you know, they weren't as creative as they used to be, and it's songs like this that truly show that they were at the peak of their game. They were just in the wrong place, you know, they were not supposed to be a band anymore by the time they made this album. So yeah, number 4, this song is incredible, amazing, one of the best songs by the band. At number 3, we have Don't Let Me Down. Once again, I'm cheating a little bit here because this song was not included in the original release of the record, but Paul McCartney included it in the Let It Be Naked, and there are some versions of the album that include this song as well as a bonus track, you know. So I thought it would be a fun idea to see where the song ranks, and honestly, number 3 is way higher than I thought it was going to be, but it's kind of hard to say it doesn't deserve it, because this is one of the best performances by John Lennon. I mean, his vocals are so passionate and so full of energy that it makes you want to sing even if you can't reach the same notes as John. I love how the lyrics are very romantic but sound very desperate at the same time. I like the dynamics of the verse and the chorus, you know, how the whole band joins in for the chorus and then it's just John in the you know, in the verse. This song is the protagonist of their legendary rooftop concert, so that's another reason why this is a very meaningful song for the album. It was the lead single for this entire project, so that's the reason why, in my opinion, it deserves to be at number 3. I believe that maybe I've Got a Feeling and Across the Universe are songs that I enjoy a little more, but because of how important this song was for, you know, the project overall, because this was actually one of the first songs that were pitched for the album, so yeah, that's more than enough reason for me to put it all the way up to number 3. At number 2, we have Get Back, and I know that for a lot of people this may be a little too high, especially because Across the Universe and Don't Let Me Down are more meaningful to John Lennon than Get Back to Paul McCartney, but personally for me, I have a very special connection to this song, mainly because I heard this song back when I was 8 years old. It was probably the first Beatles songs I've ever heard, knowing it was the Beatles, because I'm pretty sure that maybe I came across a radio station that was playing Hey Jude or She Loves You, and I was like, I wonder who these people are. But the Get Back was the first song I remember I clicked on, you know, knowing that I was gonna listen to the Beatles, and I love the intro. I love Paul McCartney's voice, how he changed from chest voice to his nasal type of voice he'd like to play around with in the late 60s and the early 70s. I couldn't understand anything about the lyrics, you know, because I was a kid. I was 8 years old and my native language is Spanish, so it's not like I couldn't speak English all that well when I heard the song for the first time, but there's something about the joyful nature and how enjoyable the track is overall that made me fall in love with it. And even though I'm sure I've heard I've Got a Feeling a few more times, I have to say that this is the song that I sing along to every single time it's played. I love the bass playing, I love Paul McCartney's vocals, I love the dynamic of the song, how it never stops, you know, how it keeps going. I love the piano playing. Billy Preston is a genius. Everything about this track is just really good, especially the percussion. Ringo Starr is a genius. I love the drumming. It's incredible. I love every element that makes this song what it is, and actually I didn't want to put it at number 2. I wanted to put it at number 1 because for me this song represents the energy and the aura of the album better than any other track in here. But for me, if we're being honest, there's only one song that I can put at number 1, and that song has to be the title track, Let It Be, one of the most recognizable, if not the most recognizable recognizable Beatles song ever, one of the most popular songs by the band, even though it's very simple and I think that it doesn't really match the rest of the album all that well. It's way slower and it doesn't find itself at the rock and roll roots that the rest of the album kind of like focuses on. The powerful and relatable nature of the lyrics, the beautiful melody, and Paul McCartney's convincing performance is more than enough for me to put it all the way up in number 1. I don't really listen to this song that often. I don't think anyone does, you know. I don't know a lot of people that go on Spotify and put Let It Be, you know, because you hear this song everywhere. It's played on radios, when you go to Target, when you go to, you know, any restaurant, they're usually playing the song if it's by the beach, you know. I feel like this song is everywhere, and that is the reason why we don't feel the need to listen to it. But if we think about the Let It Be album, if we think about the band back in 1970 where everything was going to shit, the whole band was breaking up, they had a lawsuit in between the breakup, you know, the Beatles were running out of money too because of terrible management after Brian Epstein's death. The Apple label was a major failure. I mean, everything was going wrong, so the fact that this song came to comfort a lot of fans in a moment where everything seemed to be going downhill is one of the main reasons why I put it at number 1. You know, for me, it's a very important song. It became a trademark of McCartney in the 70s. You know, it feels like with a lot of the ballads like My Love, Maybe I'm Amazed, he was constantly trying to make a song that was as emotional and as characteristic of his craft as a songwriter as Let It Be. I do believe that Hey Jude is a superior song overall, but when I think of balladry and Paul McCartney, this is the song that comes to mind, you know, and for that reason, I'm gonna put it all the way up in number 1. A song that doesn't really represent the nature of the album all that well, but it does represent one thing, and that is the peak of Paul McCartney's songwriting ability in that stage of his career. So number 1, one of the greatest songs ever made and one of the most recognizable too, Let It Be. However, that is only my personal opinion, my personal list. I'm pretty sure that your list looks very different from mine, so why don't you go ahead and leave it down below in the comments so we can all take a look at your list. I can give you my opinion on your list and we can have a small discussion, you know, a small conversation in the comments section. I truly hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any other videos that I upload. If you want me to talk about any other topics related to music, if you want me to check out a song, album, or artist, make sure to leave it down below in the comments as well, and I'll make sure to read it and fulfill your requests as soon as I can. Once again, I hope that you guys enjoyed, and I hope that I can see you soon with a new video. But until then, bye.